All right.
Ma'am, I mean ang ano, ang mic mo kung nagapareha. Kung
Ang
raya,
sa
ma'am,
mic.
nagaano ta na. Nagapareha ka,
Hindi ako
naga-distort ka
mabatian.
na. Kumagang magtubang ka pa sideway, naga-distort na mga audio.
Hindi ako mabatian.
Okay rin ma'am kung magamo kara pero kung magang takilid ka nagadura ta na.
Okay, okay. So you just inform me kung may diferensya. All right. So what is transpiration? Anybody?
Change in an organism that alters its general character and mode of life.
Okay. So another definition. Any idea? What is meant by transpiration? Okay, or transpiration is the process through which water evaporates from the stomata or the pores on the surface of the leaves. No? Now you will notice that if you are going to cover the leaves of plant by a plastic or cellophane, you will notice that after a few minutes, now you could see droplets of water on the plastic. No? All right. So that means that water from the leaves evaporates passing through the stomata. Or when you say stomata, this refers to the pores on the surface of the leaves. And that process is what you call transpiration. Can you get? Right. Now, that evaporation process creates a kind of vacuum in the conduction tissue and pulls up water through the xylem. Okay? Alright. So, transpiration is being performed by the xylem. Now, let's go to the phloem. Now, what is a phloem? What is meant by phloem? Were you able to open the notes that I have passed in your messenger?
Ma'am, I beg your pardon pero ang ginsan mo ano sa ma'am ang utod-utod.
Bakit kompleto, ma'am? May kulang pa tayo.
Malaan nyo, ang ginsend ko lang to, ang mga lecture lang to. Ang mga pages to nga kulang, ang ano to tana, ang ano ganito, ang mga activities. So there is no need nga ipasa pa kaninyo ang mga activities. Now what I have passed, ang sa lecture lang to nga part. That's why manotice no? Kulang ang mga pages.
Warat copy kami ma'am kamong ginatakaw kay ginadiscuss kaya.
Ano ba Okay, ano ko lang ano ganit siya? Ipasa ko lang liwat. So we'll have the lecture anay, ma-lecture lang kita anay for the meantime. Okay. All right. So when I say phloem, now this is a plant or a specialized tissue where sugar and food molecules synthesized in the leaves are transported to other parts of the plant. So meaning that the food which is the product of photosynthesis is again distributed to other parts of the plant, right? And through a specialized tissue which we call phloem. So ang phloem, ang utara ang nag-distribute ka products of photosynthesis to other parts of the plant. And that process there, where the food materials from the leaves move to other parts of the plant is what you call translocation. So when you say translocation, the movement of food materials from the leaves to other parts of the plant. So what is now the difference between translocation and transpiration? So when you say transpiration, is the process where water evaporates from the leaves. And when you say translocation, the process where food materials move from leaves to other parts of the plant. So that is the difference between transpiration and translocation. Okay. So I have mentioned the word phloem, xylem. So xylem there is it is where the upward movement of water and minerals are or occur. And And then when you say fluid, that is that specialized tissue where sugar and food molecules synthesized in the leaves and being transported to other parts of the plant. So that is all about the transport system in plants. Okay, any question before we proceed to the transport system in animals? Question? No question? Okay, are you still there? Grade 12?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Dawat,
Yes,
dawat
ma'am.
nagatimok-timok ka daw. Abi ko nag-leave the meeting, nakamutanan. Okay. Right now, let us proceed to transport system in animals. Right.
Diyan po kami,
Now,
ma'am.
okay. So, humans are considered as complex organism. No? Because, they are made up of different organ systems. No? And one of the organ system there is one of the organ system there is what you call the circulatory system, the excretory, no? And then we have the digestive system. Now that comprises the transport system in animals. Now, what is the function of the respiratory system? When you say respiratory system, that is the exchange and transport of gases. And when you say digestive system, the process and transport of nutrients, and excretory system, the transport of waste organs of excretion. So, respiratory, exchange and transport of gases. Digestive, transport of nutrients. And excretory is the transport of waste. Waste na nga nila transport. Okay. Now, let us discuss the circulatory system. Now, the one involved here in our circulatory system is the blood. Right? Now, the amount of water that if you are going to place that in a cup represents the amount of blood your heart pumps each time it beats. So, meaning, when your heart beats, now the amount of blood that is pumped is equivalent to a cup of water. Amura ang kadulhon kang blood nga ginapump sa heart. Okay. Now it takes your heart about 1 minute to pump 5 liters of blood. Okay, remember, I repeat, it only takes about 1 minute for your heart to pump 5 liters of blood. Kasi sa kaminuto lang, 5 kalitro ng blood na pump heart. Right? The human heart is one of the wonders of our evolution. Because the average stroke volume of human heart is about 70 ml. And the average heart rate is 72 beats per minute. So meaning that your heart beat 72 times per minute. Right. So what is a heart? Do you now have the copy? What is a heart? How will you describe a heart?
Human heart is a muscular organ that is about the size of a clenched fist. The heart has two upper chambers called atria and the two lower chambers called ventricles.
Okay. So the heart there is a muscular organ. Meaning it is made up of muscles that is about the size of a clenched fist. What do you mean by clenched fist? Kunang imo bala nga, ano ganit siya? Ang imo nga lima mo kaya inumol, no? Now that is the size of your heart. And as it was mentioned, it has two upper chambers. Now we have the atria. Singular is atrium, and we have the two lower chambers called the ventricles. Right, so it has the upper and the lower chamber. Those that are found in the upper chambers are what we call the atria. And in the lower chambers, they are called the ventricles. Right. Now, what is the function of the atria? We have two atria. And what are the function? Ano ng function ng atria? Anybody? Princess Oliveros?
Yes, ma'am. Yun ang signal, ma'am. Ipakiliwat do, ma'am.
So what is the function of the atria? Okay.
The atria, which have relatively thin walls, collect returning blood to the heart. The atria empty the blood to the ventricles, from which blood is pumped out of the heart.
Okay, so the atria there have relatively thin walls, no? Right, medyo nipis ang anang walls, and this collect returning blood to the heart. Right, now this is the one that collects blood and then return it to the heart. So the atria empty the blood to the ventricle, from which blood is pumped out of the heart. So another chapter is what we call the ventricle. So how will you describe a ventricle? Ano ang natawag na ventricle? If you are going to compare that to the atria, how will you differentiate ventricle from the atria? Now the atria has thin walls. Yes.
Ventricles have thicker walls compared to atria. Located between a ventricle and an atrium are valves that prevent the backflow of the blood.
Okay. Now if you are going to compare that to the atria, ventricles have thicker walls. Mas medyo damo yung walls. And it is the one that it is the one that pump the blood out of the heart. Tanak yang nagapagawa kang kang blood sa may heart. No? Right. Ang atria tanak nagapasulod. Tanak collect and then return blood to the heart, while the ventricle is the one that pump out the blood out of the heart. So that is the difference between the atria and the ventricle. No? And between the ventricle and the atrium, now you have there the valves. Now, what is the function of the valves? Valves are the one that prevents the backflow of the blood. Amo yung nag-prevent para mag-arawas ang blood. Okay, so those are the two chapters of the heart. Now let's go to the primary lobes of the circulatory system. Right. Now the circulatory system has two primary lobes. And what are those?
The pulmonary loop and the systemic loop.
Okay. So what is a pulmonary loop? What is the function of the pulmonary loop?
The pulmonary loop carries the deoxygenated blood from the right chamber of the heart to the lungs to pick up oxygen and return it to the left chambers of the heart.
Okay, so that is the function of the pulmonary loop. No, carries the deoxygenated blood, meaning the blood which has no oxygen. Okay, another primary loop. Aside from the pulmonary loop, what else?
Systematic loop.
Okay, what is systematic loop?
Systematic loop, on the other hand, carries the oxygenated blood from the left chambers of the heart to the different tissues of the body.
Okay, it is the systematic loop that carries the oxygenated blood. So, ang gina-carry na kadya ang blood with oxygen. And aside from that, what are other functions of the systemic loop, I mean? It is the one that delivers the needed oxygen for cellular respiration. And it also collects waste from respiration. Right. So that is the function of the systemic loop. Okay. Alright, let us proceed. Any question about the topic that we have discussed a while ago? Okay, so you can see there, figure 1.8 in the human heart, uh, which are showing the different parts of the human heart. So, dyan mo makita ang mga parts na that we have mentioned. But the human circulatory system is a closed circulatory system. Meaning, when you say closed, the transport fluid, which is the blood, is enclosed in vessel, much like a plumbing system of water delivery in cities. That is what you mean by closed. No? Right. The blood is enclosed in vessel, much like a plumbing system of water delivery in the cities. Nadapayas bala kang kang tubig bala nga nasilid sa may sa may tubo kag ginapang deliver sa mga bahay. Okay, right. And we have here three types of blood vessels. Now, will you please name them and then describe what are those three types of blood vessels?
The veins, the arteries, and capillaries.
Okay, will you please describe them one by one?
Veins are vessels that carry blood to the heart, while arteries carry blood from the heart to supply the blood to the body. And capillaries, on the other hand, are the tiny vessels that are usually involved in blood.
Involves in what?
Ang ano, ma'am?
And
Involved.
capillaries. So the capillaries are involved in.
Exchange of gas and nutrients.
Okay, no? So when you say veins, these carry blood to the heart. These are vessels that carry blood to the heart. Now when you say arteries, these are vessels that carry blood from the heart towards the rest of the body. Carry blood away from the heart. Ang arteries, ang vessels na carry blood to the heart. Nagapasilid kang blood sa heart. Ang arteries na pagwa. While the capillaries, these are vessels that are involved in the exchange of gas and nutrients. So, ang capillaries na this is the one that is involved in, not in blood, but gas and nutrients. Okay? So, that is all about the circulatory system, which is part of our transport system. Okay, question about the circulatory system? Right, questions?
None, ma'am.
None, ma'am.
Okay, da 28 lang kamo kadang nakasilid daw. Dinta na ang pulo.
Ay, ma'am, si JB, malakad, ma'am, imo kay Ace Chavoso.
Okay. Right.
Si Mariel
So, if
gali
you don't-
di ka attend kay ulo. Mariel Mondala, ma'am, di ka attend kay sakit ng ulo.
Sige, okay lang. Okay? So, if you don't have question about the circulatory system, now let us proceed to the respiratory system. Now, our respiratory system is in charge of the exchange and transport of gases. All right. Now, this performs the process of what you call breathing or respiration. So, what is meant by breathing or respiration?
Breathing or respiration is the process of inhaling and exhaling air.
Okay. So when you inhale and exhale air, now that is what you call breathing or respiration. No? Right. Now, what is the function of the respiratory system? What is the function of the respiratory system? Anybody? Abigail? Antonio? Abigail, are you still there? Anybody?
The respiratory system is concerned with taking in of oxygen and giving off of carbon dioxide.
Okay. Right. So, it is concerned with the taking in of oxygen and the giving off of carbon dioxide. No? Now, oxygen is very important to our body. And when we take in oxygen, now that is being performed by our respiratory system. And uh, carbon dioxide is the waste product. No? Right? So, uh, the giving off of carbon dioxide is also what you call respiration, no? Or being performed by our respiratory system. All right. So let's go to gas exchange. Right. The means and mode of gas exchange vary across species of organism depending on whether oxygen is dissolved in water or mixed with gases in the atmosphere. Right. Like for example, for aquatic animals. What are aquatic animals? Why are they called aquatic? Ano ang mga
Lives
ginatawag?
in water.
Okay, because they live in water. No? Right. Aquatic animals have adaptation that enable them to get their supply of oxygen from dissolved oxygen in water. No? And gas exchange in this organism varies from simple diffusion using membrane skin for breathing through elaborate uh, gill structure. Paano nagaginhawa ang mga aquatic organism, especially fishes? Through what?
Through
Huh?
gills.
Alright, through gills, no? Alright.
True.
Now for okay. Now for complex animals that are adapted to terrestrial life. What do you mean by terrestrial? Animals that are living in what?
Land, ma'am.
Alright, there are animals that are living in inland, no? Now have lungs. Lungs na ang anak ang mga terrestrial animals, no? Right. And they are localized respiratory organs that are in contact with other parts of the body. Now, gas exchange in the air sacs or what you call the alveoli. Now, that is in complex animals. Oxygen that enters the alveoli dissolved in the moist film lining the inner surface and rapidly diffusing into the web of capillaries that surrounds the alveoli. No? Oxygen flows from the alveoli where oxygen concentration is higher to the blood in the capillaries where oxygen concentration is lower. So that is how gas exchange takes place in the complex animal, especially those that are adapted to terrestrial uh, life. No? So that is the function of our respiratory system. Okay. Question about the respiratory system. Okay. Now let us proceed to the next system in the transpiratory system. That is the excretory. Now, what is the function of our excretory system? What is the function of our excretory system?
Removes waste from the body.
Remove.
Okay, it removes waste, no, from the body or in the blood. No? As part of our metabolism of food, cells produce byproducts and waste. Nagaproduce man tandara kang waste, no? And this waste, if not excreted out of the body, will hamper the efficiency of the body processes. So meaning that will affect our body processes if waste is not excreted, kundi ita na mapagwa. And waste as well as excess water are collected by the blood and filtered by the kidney and then in the excretory system, particularly in the urinary system. Right? So, ginakolektar ta na kang blood, ang waste, tapos, i-filter sa kidney. Right? And that is being excreted through our urinary system. Now, waste in the blood are mainly composed of what? What composes waste in our blood?
Excess water, mineral salts, and other metabolic waste and urea.
Okay, no? Those are the components of waste found in the blood. Now, what is a urea? What is urea?
Urea is produced in the liver as a product of the removal of excess amino acid.
Okay, that is the uh, uh, one being produced in the liver, which is the product of the removal of excess amino acids, no? And it is being filtered in our kidney. So, what is the function of the kidney? What is the function of our kidney?
The main function of the kidney is to filter this waste from the blood and move them out of the body in the form of urine.
Okay, that is to filter waste from the blood, no? And then it is being moved out of the body in a form of urine. Sa mga waste nga ra, nagatawas sa tana sa atin nga urine. And the kidney is a bean-shaped organ. Bean-shaped. The press pala kang ano gano'n yan? Kang beans, no? Alright, which has several nephrons, and these nephrons are made up of filtering structures and the blood vessels. So filtered waste are transported into the urinary bladder via the ureter and then passed out of the body through the urethra. No? Right. In figure 1.23, now you have there the human urinary system. Now you consider the different parts of our urinary system. So that is all about the excretory system. Now we are moving fast, no, because we have 3 lessons to tackle this afternoon. Now I am planning to give you a quiz on this on Monday. Alright, which covers chapter 1. Now, by the way, your test will be given in the Google quiz. Google quiz lang because we could not use the Nuado. Wala lang kita it-account sa Nuado. Right, what has been supplied to us by the C&E is only the ebook. Because if we are going to subscribe, manan nyo lain ba na ang inyong subject kadya nga second semester, lain man kang first semester. So ang invite lang ninyo nga libro nga ebooks amo ang anak kang first semester. That's why kami lang ang gitugruan kang ebook. Wala tinyo gitugruan because you don't have payment. So that's why nangita lang ako kang ano ganiya, kang way so that you could be given the copy of the book there. Di kung tamad ka mo ka to magbukad ati. It's your own lookout because test will be taken from that. Okay? So hindi ka mo kunwara it content ang inyong anuwado So your test for the second semester will be given through your Google quiz. Okay, and as what I have said, your quiz in chapter 1 will be given on Monday. Right? So any question about the excretory system? Question?
Ma'am.
All right. Okay. So no question. Okay, now let us proceed to the nervous system. Right. Now, what is the function of our nervous system? By the way, what is that organ?
Lakbang ma'am sa page.
Lakbang paged? Ay,
Ma'am
malan yung may activity.
Ma'am sunod.
Malan yung may activity. Diyan na mong tanas may dalaw. Okay, so you just listen, no? Right. Now, the nervous system is the one that controls all the processes in the animals through a chemical and electrical impulses. So, meaning it is the one that controls the activity, the different activities in our body. And our central nervous system is the brain. That is the central nervous system. All right. Now, the brain, there has 3 major parts. What are those 3 major parts of the brain? Di ba di? Magkopya ka mo gyapon?
Wala, ma'am.
All right. So the brain is made up of three major parts. Now we have the cerebrum, we have the cerebellum, and then we have the brain stem. All right. Now the cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. Amo yung pinakabahal nga parte ng brain, and its surface has numerous folds or wrinkles. It is the center of the sensory perception, memory, thought, and personality. And it is divided into two asymmetrical hemisphere, the right cerebral hemisphere and the left cerebral hemisphere. Now, by the way, now this lecture is recorded. I-send ko lang sa inyong messenger ang ano na kadya. Ang lecture nga dya. You can watch it again. No? O kundi gani pamatian pag ninyo. Hindi ba na ginano sa ano. Okay. I-upload ko lang sa inyong messenger. Okay? Alright. So we have the right cerebral hemisphere that controls the left side of the body. Ang right cerebral hemisphere, amo lang nag-control kang left side. Ang left cerebral hemisphere, amo yung nag-control kang right side. So baliskad. No? Ang right na nag-control kang left side of our body. And then, ang left na, among nag-control kang right side of our body. And the cerebrum has 4 lobes. Now we have the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. Now, what are the functions of these 4 lobes? Okay, frontal lobe. Alright, cognitive function. This controls the voluntary movement or activity. Sa mo yung nag-control kang tawag natin nga voluntary movement. Ano ang mga voluntary movement? Like for example, the raising of your hands. Pwede man nga mag-raise ka, pwede man nga hindi. Pero kung mag-konti mo nga involuntary, now these are the movements which you cannot, which is beyond your control. Halimbawa, the beating of your heart. No? Makontrol mo yan ang pag-beat kang imong heart. Can you stop your heart from beating?
Hindi.
Okay, so that is involuntary. No? Now, what about the raising of your hands? Can you control it? Yes, no? Control ni mo ra. Kung gusto mo, hindi mo pag-asawan, pwede man. So that is voluntary. Okay, so that is the function. It is the one that controls voluntary movement or activity. And its function is for cognitive. Cognitive meaning our minds. Okay, another one is the parietal. Now, this is the lobe that processes information about temperature. So, this is the one that process information. So, dyan mo man kung ang isang kabagay na ginkaptan mo, init o kon ramig. That is the work of the parietal. Taste. Diyan mo mamanan kung ang ginakaan mo, pait o kon tamis. Touch. And the movement. Right. So that is the work of the parietal. Now what about the occipital? Occipital is the one which is responsible for vision. Para sa atin nga no, sense of sight. Now what about the temporal? It is the one which is responsible for auditory information. No? The one that controls our sense of hearing. So those are the 4 lobes of the cerebrum. Okay? Now let's go to the next part, the cerebellum. What is a cerebellum? Right, cerebellum is called the hindbrain because of its location. No? Right. Now, its name came from the Latin word that means little brain because it looks like a separate structure at the bottom of the brain. Makita yata na sa may dalom gid, no, kang ating nga brain. And this part of the brain controls motor function. The function of the cerebellum is to control our motor functions, such as balance and body coordination. Okay, so that is then the second part. The third part, now we have the brain stem. Now, what is a brain stem?
Brainstem is the structure that joins the brain and the spinal cord. It includes
Okay,
the
so what includes the brain stem? Yes, continue. Sino to
it
kailangan
in
nag-recite?
Liza, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Yes,
It
yes,
includes
Liza.
it includes the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata.
Okay, so brain stem is the structure that joins the brain and the spinal cord, right? Which includes the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata, no? Right. Now, the midbrain is associated with vision, hearing, alertness, sleep-wake patterns, and temperate regulation. So that is the function of the midbrain, no? All right, vision, hearing, alertness. Now, what about the pons? Which means the breeds, to lie. Now, what is the function of this? The
It
pons?
relies the pons
Relay,
relies
relay,
relay
relay.
I mean relay signals from the brain to the cerebellum and the medulla, and sensory signals to the thalamus.
Okay. So it is associated with sleeping and dreaming. Hmm? Kung nagadamgo ikaw o kung nagaturog ikaw, what is involved there is the pons. What about the medulla oblongata? Medulla oblongata, Seidel Grace, are you there?
Ma'am,
Okay. What is medulla oblongata? Faith?
The medulla oblongata is a cone-shaped mass of the brainstem and is responsible for involuntary movements, including the control of basic anatomical processes such as breathing, circulating, and digestion.
All right. That is responsible for involuntary movement. Like for example, breathing. Involuntary breathing, no? Circulation and digestion. So that is the function of the medulla oblongata. So another one is the spinal cord. Now, what is a spinal cord? That is still part of our nervous system.
The spinal cord is a tubular structure that extends from the medulla oblongata to the vertebral area. The main function of the spinal cord is to send signals from the brain to the rest of the body.
Okay, so that is the function of the spinal cord, no? Right. And our central nervous system is connected to the different organs through the peripheral nervous system, no? Which sends signals from the central nervous system to the different organs through the nerves and the ganglia. Now let's go to the peripheral nervous system, no? Right. Now what can you say about the peripheral nervous system? What is
The,
a peripheral nervous system?
the peripheral nervous system, or PNS, is consists of nerves arising from the brain and the spinal cord.
All right, it is made up of nerves, no? That arise from the brain and the spinal cord, no? All right, now you have mentioned the word nerve. So what is a nerve?
Nerves are enclosed cable-like bundle of nerve fibers that provide common pathway for the electrochemical nerve impulses.
Okay, and we have two kinds of pulse pathways. We have the afferent sensory pathways, the one that receives signals of the or stimuli, and the efferent motor pathways that act on the stimuli. So motor pathways may cause either voluntary movement or involuntary movement. So that is about the peripheral nervous system. So when it comes to our nervous system, we have the central and then we have the peripheral, wherein the central uh, uh, is made up of our brain, no? And the peripheral is made consists of nerves, no, that are arising from the brain and the spinal cord. Okay? So that covers lesson 4. Parang lesson 4 ya daw tambah tanak ano ha? Lawid, no? Right. Any question on lesson 4 before we
None, ma'am.
proceed?
None,
Okay,
ma'am.
now let us proceed to lesson 5. Now, this time we will go to regulation of life processes, and which is the chemical control. Right. Now, objectives. Now, in this lesson, now you are going to describe the role of different chemicals in plants and animals, and explain why there is a need for regulation and feedback mechanism. Now, have you heard the word hormones? Kabati ka mo
Yes,
ka word
ma'am.
nga hormones? So what are hormones? Hmm? These are the what? These are the chemicals that regulate processes that are occurring in our body. Yeah? Right. All organisms have chemical control system that dictates the direction of the different process performed by the different organ system. So even plants are controlled by chemical system. Halin sa germination to the growth and development of their flowers and fruit. Now they are being controlled by a chemical system, right? For the complex animals, now complex animals have an endocrine system that controls body processes. Sa complex animals may endocrine system lang ginatawag nga naga-control kang body processes. So before we go to animals, let us first discuss plants, no? Right? How processes in plants are being regulated. Now, plants do not possess an endocrine system like the animals, but they are able to regulate different processes like the ripening of fruits through plant hormones. No? Pero maka-perform sanda kang different processes. Halimbawa, ang ripening of fruits. That is through the plant hormones. Now, plant hormones are called the phytohormones. What are phytohormones?
Are chemicals that regulate metabolic processes in plants.
Okay, these are chemicals that regulate metabolic processes in plants. And we have the 5 major groups of plant hormones. Now, will you please give one and then describe or tell something about that hormone? Anybody?
First one, auxin, ma'am.
Okay,
Auxin.
Ramjay.
So
All right.
auxin stimulates cell elongation in stems. It also plays a role in other processes such as apical dominance, the control of the shoot tip over axillary bud outgrowth, indole 3-acetic acid, also known as IAA, or is a naturally occurring auxin, but synthetic auxins are also available in the market.
Okay, we have the auxin. Stimulate cell elongation in stem. Amo yung nagapalabog kang stem kang tanom, ang auxin. Okay, what else? Some more?
Gibberellin. Gibberellin signals stem elongation and in some plants enhances other processes such as seed germination and fruit set. Gibberellic acid or GA is one of the more than 60 naturally occurring gibberellins.
Alright. Okay, gibberellins, these are what? These are responsible for uh, other processes in plants like seed germination, ang pagtubo kag seed kag fruit set. Na? Okay, another one. Mura ga-appear yung mga ngaran ha.
Cytokinin.
Okay,
Cyt-
Liza.
cytokinin stimulates cell division. It also wait lang. It it also causes cell enlargement and regulation of senescence. Satan was the first naturally occurring cytokinin to be identified in plants.
Okay, so we have the cytokinin stimulates cell division. No, this is involved in cell division. All right. It causes cell enlargement and regulation of senescence. Okay, some more.
Abscisic acid.
Okay.
Abscisic acid or ABA inhibits rather than stimulate many physiological functions. The effect of ABA include closure of the stomata, dormancy of axillary buds, abscission of certain fruits, and inhibition of seed germination.
Okay, abscisic acid, no? All right. Now, this has many physiological function like the closure of the stomata. Right. Now, dormancy of axillary buds, and then we have inhibition of seed germination. All right. Inhibits, naga-inhibit na tanara rather than stimulate. Okay. All right. Next, the last we have the
Ethylene.
right. We have the ethylene.
Ethylene stimulates fruit ripening, accelerates senescence, and alters other processes such as bud growth in pea seedlings. Ethylene moves readily through the plant by diffusion.
Now we have also the hormone ethylene stimulates fruit ripening. No? All right. So, ang nagapa ano bala? Ano na? Parang ang mga fruits bala mag-ripen na, no? Okay. So, those are the different plant hormones which we call phytohormones. Okay, questions? Now we have the auxin, the gibberellin, cytokinin, abscisic acid, and we have the ethylene. Right, question?
None, ma'am.
Question? Okay, so no question. So let us proceed to the last topic. Now this time we'll go to the endocrine system in humans. Now, as what I have said, now in humans, now that is being controlled by the endocrine system. Right? Glands. We have glands there, which comprises the endocrine system. And the endocrine glands produce chemical messengers that influence a wide range of activities, no, like growth, development, and metabolic activities. No? And these chemical messengers are what you call the hormones. It is the one that regulate processes at a slower rate, and the hormonal effects last longer and more widespread within the body. Right. So who can describe the endocrine system? Who can describe the endocrine system?
Endocrine system consists of different glands that may also be part of another organ. For example, isolated glands situated in the stomach produce hormones called gastrin to control digestion of food. Some glands, however, secrete hormones into the bloodstream to give signal to distant sites.
Okay. So endocrine system are made up of different glands, which may also be another or part of another organ. Like for example, we have here the hormone found in the stomach, which is called the gastrin. Ang gastrin is the hormone that controls digestion of food. Now, in figure 1.29, now you have there the human endocrine system and its part. Now we have the pineal gland, Ano pa? The adrenal gland, the pancreas, the uterus, the ovaries, the testes, and then you have the thymus and the thyroid, no? Now, in table 1.1, now you have there the major glands of the human endocrine system and their hormones. Okay. Now, will you please give one gland, the hormone which is produced, and the function? Okay, give one. Hmm. Are you still there? O kung nagaturog ka mo?
Pineal gland, hormones, melatonin, function, regulates biological rhythms.
Okay, pineal gland. No? The hormone which is being released is melatonin, and its function is to regulate biological rhythms. Okay, another one. What else?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus.
Okay, hypothalamus. Sino to kaina ang nag-recite? What is the hormone excreted by the hypothalamus?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus.
Eliza, ladies first. Eliza.
Sorry. Hypothalamus, it with an hormones of thyrotropin releasing hormones or TRH. It regulates anterior pituitary gland.
Okay, no? All right. That stimulates the anterior pituitary gland. Now, the hormone produced is thyrotropin releasing hormone. Okay, what else? Now, raise your hands if you want to, to talk. Another one. Yes? Sino ra ang nag-aalsa lima ra?
Pituitary gland, anterior
Hmm.
pituitary, hormones, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, prolactin, growth hormone, function of FHS, stimulates ovaries and testes, function of luteinizing
Euthanize.
hormone, stimulates the ovaries and testes. Function of thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates the thyroid gland. Function of ACTH stimulates the adrenaline cortex. Function of prolactin is stimulates mammary gland cells, and function of growth hormones. It stimulates growth and metabolic functions.
Okay, no? A lot of hormones are being secreted by the pituitary gland. All right, next. That is
Pituitary.
on the anterior pituitary. Then what about the posterior pituitary?
In posterior pituitary, we have the hormones of cytosine, which stimulates construction of smooth muscle cells in the utterus and the
Hmm. Then we have the vasopressin, no? All right, vasopressin, which is an
promotes
antidiuretic hormones. So what is the function?
promotes retention of water in kidneys, influences social behavior and bonding.
Okay. All right. Another one.
Thyroid gland. Thyroid hormones or T3 and T4 which stimulate and maintain metabolic processes and calcitonin, calcitonin which lowers blood calcium level.
Okay. Yeah. So that is parathyroid glands that secrete parathyroid hormone. No? Okay. Another one.
Parathyroid glands. Parathyroid hormone or PTH raises blood calcium level.
Okay. Next. Will
Adrenal
you please
medulla.
open your camera, anay? Open anay yung camera, tanan, anay. Basi malipat ko karon i-picturean. Open your camera, tanan, anay. Aday lamang matapos siya 10 leksyon, basi malipat ko bla karon now. This will be posted in the, Okay. Thank you. Go on. We are now on the
Adrenal medulla, ma'am. So adrenal
yes.
medulla of the adrenal glands, the hormones are the epinephrine and norepinephrine, where raised blood glucose level, increased metabolic activities, constrict certain blood vessels.
Okay. Next, what about the adrenal cortex of the adrenal glands? Adrenal cortex. Hmm. Anybody? Princess Perez?
Adrenal cortex of the adrenal glands composes glucocorticoids, which raise blood glucose level, and mineralocorticoids, which promote reabsorption of Na plus and excretion of potassium in kidneys.
Ano ang NA? What is NA? Ha?
Sodium.
Soluble
Sodium,
of?
ma'am.
Alright, sodium.
Sodium, ma'am.
Abi ko lipat ka mo kanyang kemuan. Alright, next. What about the pancreas? Ira Josette. Ira.
Pancreas. Ma'am. Pancreas, insulin. It lowers blood glucose level. Glucagon. It raises blood glucose level.
Okay. No, alright. So we have the pancreas, no? Alright. Now you have there the hormone insulin lowers the blood glucose level. Amura kung diabetic o kinanglan na ang imo ang insulin, no? Then glucagon which raises the blood glucose level. Kung may nagapanaba ang glucose level, which is the insulin, now we have also the glucagon that raises the blood glucose level. Okay, next. Abigail left the meeting. Raven, balisno mo.
Ovaries, female. Estrogen stimulates uterine lining growth, promote development and maintenance of female secondary sex characteristics. Also present in male but do not have very prominent effects. Progest- Progesterone or progestin synthetic promotes uterine lining growth, also present in male but do not have very prominent effects.
Okay, now ovaries. No? Now this secret estrogen. No? Now this is the hormone which is produced by the ovaries in female. Sa female lang natanaya, no? Okay, we have the hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Okay, what about for the males?
Testes,
Right, the
hormones,
testis.
androgens, function, support sperm formation, promote development and maintenance of male secondary sex characteristics.
Okay, no? So that is for the male, you have the testis that produces the hormone called androgens. So these are the major glands of the human endocrine system. And then the hormones that they produce. Okay, any question about these different glands of the human endocrine system? Question.
None, ma'am.
Yan, ma'am.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
No,
Are you
ma'am.
sure you don't have question? Okay. Now let us proceed to the last topic. Now this time we will have the homeostasis. Right. Now this is still on hormones. Now the important role of hormone is to regulate internal body environment of the organism. Ang murang important role ng hormone ang regulate body environment and maintain equilibrium amidst changing environment. Gina-maintain na karaang ano, ang equilibrium, kita nag-change ang ating environment. So the tendency of a system to resist change and maintain a stable environment is what you call homeostasis. So what is homeostasis again? Sophia. Sophia. Ay, katurog, Sophia ba?
Ma'am,
Yes. Dagwapa ako dyan sa picture mo.
thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So what is
Ano ka niliwas,
homeostasis?
ma'am?
Homeostasis.
Homeostasis, an important role of hormones is... Ay, wala. Homeostasis, the tendency of a system to resist change and maintain a stable environment.
Okay, that is the tendency of the system to resist change and maintain a stable environment. So this promote balance, di ba? Now this process involves system of feedback controls, whether they are negative or positive feedback. Now when you say negative feedback, loops this keep target values to a specific ideal level, while positive feedback amplifies the starting signals. No? Right? Now, all feedback system involves a stimulus. Then we have the receptor, the control center, and the response. No? All right. It is either a positive or a negative feedback. Now, most type of homeostatic system use a negative feedback loop. Like for example, carbohydrates or a sugar-rich diet. So a diet based on high carbonated or sugar intake increases the blood glucose level. No? So when there is a higher intake of carbohydrates or sugar, now that will increase the blood glucose, no? Which wherein that blood glucose serve as the stimuli, right? So once the glucose will increase, no? Right? This is now the turn which is being detected by insulin secreting cells of the pancreas, which is the receptor. No? So ma-detect ra ta na kang pancreas. And the pancreas there will serve as the receptor. So the message then cause the beta cells in the pancreatic islet, also called the islet of Langerhans, scattered throughout the pancreas to secrete insulin. So that is now the control center. No? So kung halimbawa nagkaan ikaw kang duro nga carbohydrates, so mataas ang imo nga blood glucose level. So that is the stimuli, no? All right. Now that will be detected by the pancreas. Right, which secretes insulin. So the pancreas there will be the receptor. Tanak ra ang makadetect. So the message there nga nagataas ang mga glucose will cause the beta cells in the pancreatic islet, no, scattered throughout the pancreas to secrete insulin. So ang message kara, ma-message na tana sa pancreas nga ma-secrete kang insulin. Your pancreas there is the control center. So glucose will be taken up by the cells and will be converted to glycogen to storage, which is called the response. Can you get? So that is the generalized feedback response system. So my stimulus, my receptor, my control center, and my response. So that is an example, no? A carbohydrate or a starch-rich, sugar-rich diet. Right. Now let's go to the negative feedback. Negative feedback, you have the normal blood glucose level. Then you have the stimulus, glucose-rich diet. Ang muna na kayo na, no? Receptor high glucose level detection, which is being done by the what? By the pancreas. Then we have the control center, where the liver now will secrete insulin para makontrol na ang mga glucose level. And then, the response there will be, glycogen will be taken up. So, ibulan na karaang glycogen. So, positive feedback loop is important for processes that need continuous stimulation. An example of a positive feedback system is the childbirth process. Ang sa kainatan na to ang carbohydrate or sugar-rich diet. Now, that is an example of generalized feedback response system. So, or the negative feedback. Now let's go to the positive feedback. Right. Example of this is the childbirth process. Ang nagabata. Right. A baby's growth, which is the stimuli in the uterus, you know when that fertilized egg or the zygote reach the uterus, no? Now that is now the time that the baby will grow. Sa uterus, beratan na grow, right? So the baby's growth, there is the stimuli in the uterus. This activates the receptor that will send signal to the posterior pituitary gland, which is the control center, right? To release hormone called oxytocin, which is the response. So this hormone intensifies and speeds up contraction of the uterus so that the mother can deliver the baby. So the delivery of the baby ends the positive feedback loops. Sa mo na yan, example, kanina tawag natin nga, positive feedback. Like during childbirth, no? Ang stimulus there is the full growth of baby in the uterus. So tungod nga, bahol rin ang bata sa silk uterus, meaning mature ta na, ready rin ta na magwa, no? So the one that stimulates there is the full growth of the baby in the uterus. The amo yang naga-stimulate, no? Right. Then, receptor, siyempre, tingnan nga magawa rin ang bata. So there will be the stretching of the uterus and pushing of the baby's head against the mother's cervix activates receptor. So ang receptor na kanya nga stretch ang uterus. Amura nga kung if the mother delivers the child, makabatsyag ta na kang ginatawag nga sakit. Kung nagasakit ra, kasi doon nagka-contract ra ang uterus, meaning the baby is being pushed out of the uterus. At kung tira tayo masakit, tira lang ang bata. Kasi doon wala nagka-contract. Ang sakit na kang busong, amura nga tawag nga contraction of the uterus. And through contraction of the uterus, the baby there is being pushed nga magwa. And then, the control center is the posterior pituitary gland that releases oxytocin. And then the response, increase in intensity and speed of contraction of the uterus. Amura nga, bambal ang mga nanay bla. Now you will experience this later. Alright. Nga kung magsigi-sige rin ganira ng sakit kang pusong, kung sa'yo doon, dasig rin ka ang contraction. Kung sa'yo doon, dali lamang ramagwa ang bata. Tingnan nga, dasig rin ang contraction. Ay kung ano ganira, kung medyo hinay para, nabuhay-buhay pa ang pagsakit ka pusong, kung sa'yo doon, ang hinay pa ang contraction. Once kang dali lamang ramagwa ang bata, now contraction there will be faster. Amura nga tamanan ka, sakit. Now, that is an example of what you call positive feedback. Okay. So, that is what you call, these processes are what you call homeostasis. Okay. Now, any question about this lesson? Alright. Question. Ay, Turugran? Are you still there?
None, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, question before we end this session.
None, ma'am.
Okay, how shall we connect this to our health? Paano natin niya connect sa ating health ang chapter 1, the one that we have discussed in chapter 1. You know, our body is a wonderful machine. Da parehas kano ka makina ang atin nga lawas. It will eventually weaken and succumb to...
ma'am.
Huh? What is that? Babatian niyo ako?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So our body kano is like a machine. No? It will eventually weaken and succumb to disease or illness if we do not take care of it. The press mo nakamakina. Na if we do not take care of our body, it will weaken. Pares mo nakamakina nga kung ano gani, kung di mo na what you call this, paglimpyuhan, no? Halimbawa sa mga motor, di mo na pag-change oil, time will come na mano tanara, magba. So mo man natin nga lawas ra. So we must take care of it. One way to take care of our body is by not smoking cigarette. Hmm? Right. So we must take care of our body by not smoking cigarette. Hmm? So that's why the government mandates that smoking should not be allowed in public places. Hmm? So bisan ganito sa ating eskwelahan, no? Right? Smoking is being banned. Hmm? It is also requires for graphics and written warning to be included in every cigarette packs. So nakakita ka mo ka mga cigarette packs. Anong makita nyo dyan? Hmm? What can you say? Anong makita nyo sa mga cigarette packs?
Warning sign mo.
No
Mga
warning?
warning sign.
Ano nga warning?
Cigarette
Mga
smoking is
cancer,
dangerous to
ma'am,
your
kano
health.
mamukan.
Right. So makita nyo dyan, cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health. No? Alright. So what do cigarettes contain that makes them dangerous?
Nicotine.
Alright, nicotine. Diba? Okay, you have the carbon monoxide. You have the sulfur dioxide. You have the tar. Hmm? Ang carbon monoxide is a dangerous gas that when combined with hemoglobin, this causes reduction of the amount of oxygen that blood can transport. So kung ang carbon monoxide magsamo tara sa hemoglobin ra, no? So the amount of oxygen that blood transport could be reduced. Ang nicotine tana, this is a highly addictive substance that stimulates the brain and increase breathing and heart rate while constricting the blood vessel. And nicotine withdrawal can impair cognitive functioning and cause anxiety and depression. Done. Take note. Right. So sulfur dioxide is a gas that stimulates nerve endings in the respiratory tract, causing irritation, chest tightness, and coughing. Ipicture ko ano hindi mo pagabayan daya. Diyan lang ko, ano ba? Diyan lang ko nagmuro sa gilid. Okay, and then we have the tar there. Tar is a collective term for particles suspended in the cigarette smoke, which can irritate the respiratory tract and even stimulates the growth of the cancer cells. No? So these are the different substances that could be found in cigarette. No? Right. So actually, everything in cigarette is bad for the body. Like nicotine, tar, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide. No? These are hundreds of dangerous substances that can harm the body. So since smoking affects everybody's system, so finding a way to quit the most important step that smokers can take to a living a longer and happier life. No? Right. So madyan kakon gani nga smokers do not grow old because they die young. Batian nyo ra? What does it mean? Ano nga, they do not grow old. Ang smokers.
Kaya agap na.
Yes. Pero saan na nagamalami bataan, saan na mong nagapatay rin. So that's why they do not grow old because they die young. Okay? Alright? So I hope that you have learned a lesson from this chapter. So any question? Yan.
None, ma'am. None, ma'am.
Okay, so no question. So are you ready for a quiz on Monday?
Ma'am, pwede i-send ang iba nga ano, ma'am. Ang iba pa nga, ano, ang iba nga notes, ma'am. May kulang siya mong ma'am sa iba.
Okay, sige. Ang ano i-send ko lang sa messenger ninyo ang ano gano ya? Ang recorded. Ang gin-record ko para nga bisan wala ka mo ka ano gid sa lecture. So makapamati ka mo.
Sige,
Okay.
ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so it's that clear? Alright, so next Friday, we are work from home. So next Friday again, now we are going to discuss chapter 2. So this is on heredity. Please try to have an advanced study on this. Can you get?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Alright, so we will be meeting again next Friday, the same time. I hope that everybody will be present by that time. Now you are only 22. 22 lang kamo ka dyan nga nag-attend. What about the rest? Wala sandahit mga signal?
Nagadura-dura mamang iba mamang pahina signal dabong ma'am.
Ti amo gani. Akan magani isa. Gadura-dura mo gani ako isa. Na? Okay? So, thank you for
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
all right. Thank you for attending the session this afternoon. Okay, see you next meeting. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am. Thank
Bye,
you.
ma'am.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Okay.